the news did not get any better for Ole Miss. Remember, we were tracking it for the first 10 minutes or so of the game. Ole Miss was shooting at 1.73%, and they were down 13. It was the difference in made threes and made twos. South Carolina pushed the lead all the way to 17?
I believe that's right.
I couldn't remember if it was 16 or 17. I read somewhere 17. So they pushed the lead to 17 in the second half. And then here come the Rebels. And they got it close, but they couldn't get over the hump. And part of the problem is they couldn't score in the last 4 minutes of the game. Ole Miss made just one of its last 9 field goal attempts. South Carolina made one of its last 7 field goal attempts. And South Carolina closed the game on a 3-minute, 47-second scoring drought. They did not score in the last 4 minutes of the game, and they held on for dear life. Ole Miss looked like a different basketball team in the second half after about the first 5 minutes or so. At the half, South Carolina led it 43-31. Ole Miss outscored them by 9 in the second half. Wasn't enough to completely overcome the deficit. Rebels had a shot at the buzzer, and when I say at the buzzer, I really mean with like 5 seconds left to try and tie the game. It was not the shot that you wanted. So Matthew Morrell gets a long rebound off of a missed South Carolina 3 as the shot clock was winding down. And that's with about 8 seconds to go. He races into the front court, and you're like, man, they got time to get a good shot. And instead, the shot Morrell took was an off-balance 3 from about 24 feet on the left wing where he was trying to draw a foul. There was some contact. I didn't think, you guys may disagree, I didn't think that there was enough contact in that situation to blow the whistle and call a foul on the three-point shooter. Here's what I would say. If you tell me there was enough contact to at any point call a foul there, then you also should call a foul with 5 seconds left. I just didn't think there was enough contact, especially when whatever contact was there was kind of initiated by the offensive player. Here's a question I have for you guys, though. And I've thought about this a lot today. Is the right play to try and play for contact on a three-point attempt and get to the free throw line where you've got to make 3 free throws? And Matthew Morrell might very well have made 3 free throws. He did not shoot one in the game. Ole Miss didn't shoot many in the game, only 7 free throw attempts. Is that right, in the game? Yeah. Ole Miss was 5 of 7 from the line. They've made clutch free throws at the end. But is that the right strategy, or is a better strategy to try and get a good look for a 3 to try and tie it?
Yeah. I mean, you're one of the SEC's leading scorers. But, you know, some of the reaction immediately after the game was, oh, what a stupid decision. Like that. No, it makes sense. It's sound and logic. If you are about to get fouled, if South Carolina's doing the foul up 3 in the closing seconds thing, then go into a shooting motion and try to get 3 free throws instead of 2.
Yes.
But if you're going to do that, you have to guarantee. You have to know that you are going to get fouled in a way that will be called, or else you take a really bad shot, and that's the end result.
Or if they are in the act of fouling you, throw it up and try and get the call.
Yeah. But at least it sounded like I understand where he was coming from. That's not the issue. People focusing on that decision, whether it was a foul or not a foul, or should he have done that, should he not have done that, that's not where people need to be focused. It's also not on the block on Sharp, which should have been a foul call there too. That should have been called. Yeah, hey, Dad, if you watch the replay in slow motion, absolutely, he did not touch the basketball. He touched his arm and dislodged the ball. I mean, you can shake your head no, but watch the replay slowly, and you will see that's exactly what happened. But that's not the issue. The officiating wasn't the issue.
I think our officials do the best they can, you know.
They didn't score.
That is so rich coming from you. That is so rich.
They played poor offense in the final 4+ minutes of the game. That's why they lost. It's not officiating.
Yeah, I mean, a team doesn't score for 4 minutes and you can't get the lead. That's on you. That's on you. I mean,
Which
and
they were
on top of that,
also still trying to dig
you
out
dug
of a
yourself
hole.
a 17-point hole
Yeah.
and couldn't climb out of it. I mean, those are on Ole Miss for sure.
Ole Miss was down 53-36 in the second half. They outscored South Carolina 29-12. I didn't do that math right. 29-15 the rest of the way. But it wasn't enough. And
The bigger
they lose one on the road.
Yeah, and that loss isn't going to hurt them and all that stuff. That's all true. Like they're still in fine shape. If they're going to make the tournament, you might look back in March and think, "Ooh, I had an opportunity there and blew it," and that could cost them if they don't get the right number of wins or whatever. The more interesting thing in that game is not, again, it's not officiating. It's not, couldn't execute down the stretch or whatever. It's none of those things. It's who didn't play. And not who didn't play at all. It's who didn't play in the second half and what that meant. Because Chris Beard early in the second half sat two of his starters and did not put them back in the game. And he didn't talk about it in his press conference because he's not a throw the players under the bus in public coach. But anybody watching that game could tell you that a message was sent to two of his starters that if you are going to give effort like that, you are not going to play. I don't care what the score is or anything like that.
And honestly, it was more like three of his starters. Jamin Brakefield played 1 minute in the second half. Jalen Murray played 6 minutes in the second half, and Musa Cisse played 5 minutes in the second half. That is three starters that combined for 12 second-half minutes in the game. Austin Nunez was on the floor a ton. Jamarian Sharp was on the floor a ton. He played 15 minutes in the second half. Sharp played 15 minutes in the second half. And he was fairly effective.
Yeah. And
that was after 3 first-half minutes for Jamarian. Morrell had 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting. He made 3 of 5 from 3 and had 9 rebounds. And that is not a guy that has traditionally been a great rebounder of the basketball. So he did a good job there. 10 points for Juju Murray on 4 of 9 shooting. And that was in 24 minutes. And remember, he only played, 6 minutes, 5 minutes in the second half. And the big night was from Alan Flanagan. Al Flanagan goes for 26 points on 11 of 15 shooting the basketball without a three-point shot attempt.
Yeah, he attacked last night, and that's his game. The
attack
ISO
in mid-range. I mean, of those 11, probably 8 of them were 15 to 17 foot jump shots.
Yeah, and that was his game. Just quick, decisive decisions. You're not James Harden, and that's okay. Not many people are, but when he got the ball and went downhill, South Carolina couldn't stop him for a long period of time.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. 74% of Ole Miss's made shots in the game were two-pointers, 56% for South Carolina. It was
it's interesting, the dynamic of what happened, because in the closing 3-4 minutes when they were getting stagnant offensively, you would probably rather have Juju Murray in the game. But Chris Beard never went back to Murray. And, maybe it cost him the game or maybe it didn't. I don't know. But the dynamic of seeing, because you can't quantify effort, right? Although them being as bad as they are as a rebounding basketball team, that's an effort stat.
Partially.
Partially, for sure. Now, they're, people think, oh, well, you have a 7'5" guy. Why can't you rebound well? Well, he's not the most athletic guy on the court.
He's also 180 pounds.
Right. If somebody's 6'8" and bigger and stronger, or bigger, wider, and stronger than him, then he'll be a better rebounder than him. But they've got an effort issue on some things, that team does. They have an effort issue defensively at times. They have an effort issue rebounding the basketball. And so when Chris Beard took 2 of his reliable starters out of the game to play guys that don't get heavy minutes, And suddenly they're starting to get stop after stop after stop, and they're getting rebounds, and they're getting more stops, and they erase a 17-point deficit. I'm totally fine with him not going back to the starters at any point. Like, dance with the girl that brought you there, for one, but two, if you're not going to give maximum effort, I'm going to keep playing the guys that will. And in the film room, it'll look really bad for you. And now you know that I, being Chris Beard, I am not going to tolerate it. That was a very interesting personnel decision at the end of last night's game.
Yeah, the bench forever, and I think forever into the future, forever has been and forever will be the greatest disciplinary tool at there for the usage of a head coach. Minutes, time on the field, time in the lineup. The bench is the greatest tool at the disposal of the head coach for discipline. You want to play? Here's how you're going to play. You don't play this way, you're not going to play. And that's what he did. And Chris Beard proved to his team last night, it does not matter who you are. Jamin Brakefield's averaging like 32 minutes a game. And he played 1 in the second half last night. Murray is averaging over 30 minutes a game. He played, what was it in the second half? 6 minutes.
And I've apparently people get annoyed that I reference conversations I have, but I do it, and it's just who I am. But I was talking to somebody earlier today about this, and he was like, yeah, but I hated that Chris Beard possibly sacrificed the game to send a message. And I thought, it doesn't matter. It's a big picture decision. It is not about what happened last night. It's about what you need to happen on your team moving forward. And you have got to as a coach, you have to set a tone. And if you're going to allow things to slip for the sake of one win, then nobody's going to buy into what you're selling big picture long term.
Borky's referencing conversations again. God,
I know.
It's ridiculous. We try to move forward here.
I know.
I've
gotten some blowback about that. I don't know what happens.
Have you really?
Yeah.
What?
Message boards and Twitter.
How dare you try to relate to people? Don't do it. Don't relate to those peasants.
I was thinking it's so easy from where we sit or where we watch to make the statement that I'm about to make. But going back to the last shot of the game that Matthew Morrell, he's clearly trying to draw a foul. I'm going, hold on a second. You're one of the best scorers in the SEC. You're going 100 miles up the floor. You've got good ball skills and the ability to control your dribble. Why do you not slam on the brakes, hard jab step, take one dribble back, and in rhythm get an open three on the perimeter? That's really, really easy for me to say from where I sit. It makes sense in my head. It's just like there was so much time left. I know the clock's running. He let that ball go, and there was almost 6 seconds left. And then South Carolina kind of saves it in bounds underneath, and 1.3 left, and they inbound, and nothing. So anyway, it didn't end well for Ole Miss. And I agree with what you said a second ago. It could be a game that you look at back and you go, you got to find a way to win that one. And Ole Miss has 2 of those now on the road. Their game at LSU, where they played poorly, just played poorly against LSU. And then last night, where they played poorly for the first 25 minutes of the game and then played really well for the next 12 minutes and then just couldn't buy a bucket at the end. I'm not sure that I agree with this message on the C Spire text line. In my opinion, Flanagan was a victim of his own success. He got the hot hand, and you think you can't miss, which leads to a few bad/terrible shots. How many of the shots that he took were terrible, though? I mean, the truth of the matter is when you face South Carolina, Mark Wise talked about this yesterday. I heard Jimmy Dykes talk about it on the broadcast last night. South Carolina does as good a job as anybody in the SEC of staying in front of their opponent when they're defending, staying in front of the ball. And so Flanagan made a bunch of contested shots last night. But you have to make contested shots against a team like South Carolina. What, he had the one where he kind of drove and got into no man's land and hit the underside of the backboard late? That was certainly not the shot that you were looking for. But he played really, really well. So assigning any blame to Alan Flanagan on a night where he goes for 26 with 11 of 15 from the floor seems ill-advised.
Active defensively as well, rebounded. I mean, he played his rear end off.
He really did. He really did. And now Ole Miss gets a week. They don't play again until next Tuesday night, 6 days from now, in Lexington against Kentucky. That was a Kentucky team that looked like the Globetrotters last night against Vanderbilt. I mean, it looked like the Globetrotters and the Washington Generals in the final 10 minutes of that game.
It's apples to oranges, but the bye week, quote-unquote, coming at a good time. It's like, you've got LSU on the schedule, but the week before they're in Jordan-Hare. Kentucky's playing Gonzaga this weekend. And you get to sit at home and relax and put your feet up and get healthy and do all those things and game plan while Kentucky's dealing with Gonzaga. And then they have to turn around and play you healthy and rested on Tuesday. So it's a good schedule break. If you have to go to Rupp, you'd rather go to Rupp off of a bye weekend where they're playing Gonzaga.
You wish it was Gonzaga of old.
You do.
You wish it was not this unranked version of Gonzaga, but it is Gonzaga. Weird scheduling quirk. Kentucky not taking advantage of its open date in the middle of conference play, instead hosting the Zags at Rupp on Saturday afternoon in Lexington. So
they're still 16-6.
Yeah, still pretty good, which is the same record that Kentucky has. And Kentucky's got 3 losses at Rupp this year. Not a cheap ticket on Saturday for that game in the Bluegrass State.